Hey guys, welcome to, let me think. Pros and cons to ground blind hunting? There's definitely more pros than there are cons. So what do you say we get on with this? Well, with the cons, this is a 2 to 3 person blind, which is pretty much the biggest I've seen, at least on Amazon, other than the new one that just came out on the market that's actually 2-in-1. And so it's really massive. Now that's a cool blind, okay? It's also twice the money pretty much too. That's next year's project. Then we can camp out, which would probably be a good idea, to be honest. But anyway, so ground blinds, you have to set them up strategically, because keep in mind, you're going to set it up and you're leaving it there for the whole hunting season, okay? Until hunt time is over, you're finished, and then you can take your blind down, right? So you don't really want to be moving it around. So you got to pick your location very strategically. Okay, so for whatever shooters you have, whether it's gun people or gun and bow mix or just even bow. Now I'll tell you, even from a blind this size, which is the biggest I could find on Amazon for a single unit like this, this is the biggest I found. And you cannot shoot traditional bows out of this thing, so that's a big con. You must use a compound bow. And I would recommend something with a reasonably, not too long, but not overly short, unless that's what you're shooting, of a compound for the axle to axle, okay? I'm using a Mathews Mission hammer bow, so you can check the specs of that online. And my buddy's using a diamond bow, which is actually slightly smaller than mine. However, it's a perfect setup. We're sitting beside each other. We have no room for a third person. By the time we get in, like, we don't even carry any real gear in here. You know, we got like our fanny pack bags that, you know, we'll throw them on the ground with some extra stuff that maybe we have, that sort of thing. We each have chairs. Now, here's a recommendation for a chair. Otherwise, this is going to bust you every time with deer. Get a chair tall enough that you can sit here and you can shoot, and you can get your deer, your bear, whatever the heck it is you're going after, okay? And it's also going to prevent you from the whole buck fever thing, because you are not going to be able to pull your bow back as easily sitting down as you can standing up. It's approximately between 2 and 4 times harder, depending on the individual, okay? And it depends on what your bow weight's set at as well. I'm at 56 pounds, he's at 40, okay? I have an easier time at it because I practice a lot pulling my bow sitting down. But we both have approximately the same height of seat. They're about 28 inches tall, okay? Which is perfect height. Just sit here and you're not going to chance slamming an arrow into the wall or anything. You're going to go right out that window. Now, with 2 bow shooters, I think you can either go side to side and have your backs to each other if you want, or you can go side by side, but no more than 2 bow shooters in a blind this size. A third person is nothing but a problem. However, if that third person has a gun, that could be okay to do, depending on how you arrange your setup for your seating. Because you also don't want to be close to the blind with your bow. You want to be further back, right? So that's the thing. The other thing is you got to be sure of your target, okay, and what's beyond your target. The way our setup is, it's just him and I. That's it. We're shooting out of one window. He's a right-handed shooter, I'm a left-handed shooter, which puts us on the perfect sides, okay? Now, we already know what our background is like, how much woods are in the way, anything. So if we miss, we know exactly where our arrow is not going to end up, okay? So, and then again, we don't know where it's going to end up either, but we definitely know where it's not going to end up. We're safe, okay? We have no worries about if somebody's walking down the bush line that they're going to get hit if we miss. We have that totally covered, okay? And you got to be sure of that, right? We're shooting at a range that was the best we could do for in here to get this perfect shooting lane, okay? So we're right down the middle of a bunch of trees, and we only need one window open, which means deer can come behind us, beside us. They have no clue we're in here. Thought I heard something. Never know. Anyway, so, because that window stays closed, this window stays closed, where my phone is tucked into, the small window behind me is closed. So we got one big window, perfect, okay? that works. But you can have 2 bows and 1 gun if you do it right, okay? Just means it's going to get a little crowded, that's all. But 2 bow shooters, perfect. And, you know, and how you haul your gear out, I mean, if you're going to bring bow cases and stuff, then, well, it's only going to be 2 shooters and that's it. So, because you got to have some place to put your cases, right? So you're smarter to just carry your bow to the blind, you know, leave the case in the truck kind of thing. With the whole thing of, there are some of those that are negatives, by the way, but the positive sides are, it's great. Other negative is if you messed up and there's really not that much deer around, well, that's on you. You're going to have to move your blind, aren't you? So, and smack in the middle of the season, that's not going to help you much because you got to re-scout, right? So you should do your scouting ahead of time to see where the deer are most often coming, and then you know where to set up. And then this way you don't have to take it down to the end of the season when you're done. Simple, right? And anyways, because it is a bit of a pain, these things do have some size to them. There's, you know, moving parts and all that jazz to set them up, take them down. At least it's all pop-out stuff, which is nice. But you also got to stake these things into the ground with not only the 4 corners of the floor, but also the 4 walls need to be secured as well. Otherwise, if you get a high wind, well, guess where your blind's going to be? I have no idea. Somewhere, but not where you left it. Brushing in blinds, by the way. You don't have to do it. The deers don't care. The bears don't care. None of this animal life cares if you brush it or not. The only thing it's going to do by not brushing it in is get them a little bit more curious as to, what is that big, weird shaped thing? They may come up to it. Now, we did have a bear take a few rounds out of one wall, and my wife spent a few weeks fixing that. So, thankfully, we were okay as far as our beginning of the season went, and we got everything in time. So, anyway, with that, though, yeah, animals can get curious. What that bear's problem was, I have no idea. But either way, we still have a usable blind for this season. Then it goes to the garbage. I was kind of hoping that damage didn't happen, but, you know, because then I could get a couple of years out of this thing. But I'm not going to now. So I'll have to plan ahead for next year. And that's what I'm working on now, even with Amazon stuff. Because I prefer to buy from Amazon anyhow. But the cons, too, is the tent pegs that come with these. They're useless. Just get yourself some, you know, maybe buggered up arrows that are maybe an inch too short now for you to use. You know, just use those as pegs. They work perfect. I did that with some Chinese arrows that I kind of decided, well, they're not straight enough anyways, those particular ones, or they had another issue, like they got too short. And I turned them into tent pegs and used those. Put them on a really steep angle, hammer them into the ground, there's the floor taken care of. One wall over there, it's in with one of those arrows, right? My other 3 walls, mind you, they're strapped to trees with the ropes. So that's fine. Now I just got to solve my roof because we're getting 10 to 15 centimeters of snow between tonight and tomorrow. So hopefully the roof doesn't cave in before I can get to it with a rope tomorrow. I should have done that a long time ago, but I really wasn't thinking. I didn't even think I'd be out here this long trying to get a friggin' buck. But apparently, guess what? I was wrong. I'm going to be here for a while yet. So, and now we got a heater out here to help us. And by the way, propane heaters that do make a bit of noise, doesn't bother the deer. We did our homework first. So it's like perfect because sometimes we get a little chilly in here. We can fire it up for 10 minutes, get our bodies warmed right back to normal, and shut her off and suffer again for another hour, then turn it on, do the same thing again. So, but now, what are like all the main pros to this? Okay, well, the main pros are it keeps you out of the elements really well. If you have one that you have 360-degree view like this one, you can see out, and pretty good too. Not perfect, but good enough, okay? And nothing can see in. Unless you start, you know, oh, it's getting dark out and I got to find my crap. So a flashlight is definitely going to get you busted out. But then again, you're packing up to go anyways. Who cares, right? So, you know, that's a thing. And we shut the window every night before we leave to keep a lot of the rain out that happens if it's going to rain. And definitely the snow. We don't want to walk in here to an igloo, right? And besides, we got stuff we need to keep in here all the time, so this way we're not hauling crap too much. But anyway, so the pros though, it is good to have something that you can see through all the way around you and with good view. This way you know what's even coming up in the lower profile, like baby bears. If you were blacked out from the window down, you'd never know a baby bear was behind you unless you turned around and looked. And even at that, if the bear is already beside you, you have no idea, you know, other than the noise it'll make. The inside of this is black, but it doesn't matter what color it is. I mean, deers can only see in certain colors apparently, and you know, even our experience last night with another deer, we just missed the shot because it started to quarter away, and it was like too late, can't get the shot in. But it happens, right? You know, but otherwise, you know, we're dressed in our camo colors, whatever he wears, whatever I wear, and you know, the orange vest, we don't need it, but we're wearing it anyway. It's just for convenience of the pockets, really. Still, it's out of the elements a lot. And with a waterproof roof, no water's coming down on our heads. We're not stuck out in the snow, technically, because the snow can only get in through any open windows, and these are all closed except for the one. You know, so you have that benefit of ground blind as well, right? Now, I do have to solve by tomorrow at some point. I got to tie the center of this up. There's a strap on there, and I'm going to have to probably collapse the roof down to get up to it high enough so I can tie a rope on there and tie it to a tree nearby so the roof can't get pulled down by the snow weight. So this way, when I come in, if there's some snow, I'm like, oh, that's pushing her, man. So I'll turn on the heater, let it melt the snow, and then just pop, 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 and it'll all fall off. So no big deal, right? But yeah, you're definitely out of the elements. So your chances of, you know, freezing to death and getting pneumonia are probably 97% better to your positive than being out in a tree stand, which offers absolutely zero protection from the elements, right? And yeah, so I kind of like that. And good luck trying to use a heater up in a tree stand. This works, you know. The fact too, you're on ground level, which is nice. You can get up and walk around. If you know you're not stuck standing or sitting in an awkward position, you can get up and you can just walk around. Try doing that on a tree stand. Good luck, doesn't happen. You're either standing or sitting, and if you're sitting too long and your butt's getting numb, well, now you're going to have to figure out, can I stand up? Oh yeah, of course I can. But then you have limited movement. You can't walk around to get your blood moving again and start warming your body correctly. This gives you that ability. Like I said, there are way many pros out there too for ground blinds. And I know I can't even cover all the pros and cons, but I will guarantee you this, there are definitely far more pros to doing this in a ground blind for hunting than there is in the cons, okay? So there's very few negative sides to it. But they're not as big for people as they say they technically are. This is a 3 to 4. Well, it depends on how you organize it, right? Depends on the gear you throw in here. You know, maybe, possibly, if all 4 people were shooting guns, maybe that could work, sure. But 2 bow shooters, that's your limit. You don't really want somebody else in here unless they have a gun. But you're not getting 3 bow shooters. You're also not shooting the traditional bows in this. We've already done that through our other videos. Check out my archery playlist where I have some videos on this blind, and you'll see what happens with traditional bows and how they can't be used. You know, you do need seats that are tall enough for you to sit on, that you can easily just sit here, pick up your bow, you know, and then pull back and fire right through that window with a clean shot, okay? This way, it prevents buck fever. It's a lot harder to pull your bow sitting, but you know what? It's going to help prevent buck fever. You're going to be probably about 90% more secure that way as far as buck fever goes, that it won't happen. So, and it's, like I said, it's a better benefit too. You get more of a viewpoint too when you're sitting up higher, which is also workable, right? And like I said, you can stand up and walk around, and you're on ground level. No need for safety harnesses or any of that. Now, probably the biggest con is with blinds that have zipper doors. Stay away from them. That was my mistake this year. Next year I will not be making that same mistake. I'm going to get a silent door style blind. But other than that, I mean, if you guys can think of any ideas of pros and cons that I may have missed or you may think are pros and cons, feel free to put them in the comment section below. Otherwise, we'll definitely see you guys in the next video. Ciao.